I've done this video before, but I do a lot of videos, so we'll do it again. This person who says they are a non-American is asking, what do the midterms do? So let's break down how briefly this works. There are 10 million different things to get into the nitty gritty with, and there are a shit ton of other elected positions in this country, but we're going to deal with these top federal positions. So at the federal level, you have the President of the United States that runs the executive branch, and then you have Congress, which is made up of the Senate, which is known as the upper chamber, and the House of Representatives, which is known as the lower chamber. Senators represent their entire state, and each state gets two. House of Representative members represent a district within the state, and those districts are typically drawn based on population. You might have heard of all the redistricting wars that have been going on here recently, where states are trying to redraw their maps to squeeze more members of the House out. Anyway, the president serves a minimum of 1 4-year term, a maximum of 2. Members of the House of Representatives serve 2-year terms, and members of the Senate serve 6-year terms. So, every 2 years, we vote for the entirety of the House of Representatives. So, if there's a presidential election year, we're voting for the president and every member of the House of Representatives. 2 years later, that's halfway between the beginning of a president's term and the end of a president's 4-year term in office, we vote for the entirety of the House of Representatives. So every 2 years, we vote for all of the House of Representatives. In addition to that, every 2 years, about a third of the Senate is up. So there are the senators, there are 100 senators, and they each serve 6-year terms, but Congress has them broken down into staggered starts, so that every 2 years you are electing about 33, 34, 35 senators. So midterms are election years in which we don't have presidents. That happen 2 years after a president takes office, and subsequently 2 years before the end of that term in office. So this year, 2026, when we go to the polls in November, we won't be voting on a president, but we will be voting on all of the House of Representatives. And remember, the House of Representatives are who controls the money. The House does more things than money, and the Senate does more things than judges. But the main thing the House does is they control the money. They appropriate the funds for everything in the federal government. And the main thing the Senate does is they get those judicial appointments through. You want a Supreme Court justice seated? They got to get it confirmed by the Senate. You want a federal judge seated? They got to get confirmed by the Senate. So this year we'll be voting for the entire House of Representatives and 35, I think, senators, 33 to 35 senators. And then obviously there will be elections at the same time. Some states will be voting for their governors or state senators or things like that. But that's the big thing that you're looking for in these midterm votes. It is the entire House of Representatives and about a third of the Senate. Then, when we get to 2028, the next presidential election year, we will vote on the entire House of Representatives, a third of the Senate, and the president. And then 2 years after that, we go right back into the midterms. So there's almost a constant feel of elections going on here because you're constantly rolling over the House of Representatives every 2 years and at least a third of the Senate every 2 years. But that's what a midterm does. In November, we're going to pick who controls the money, who control the House of Representatives, which means who the Speaker of the House is, and who controls the Senate. And, some gubernatorial races, like here in Illinois, we will have a gubernatorial race. So, and then in April I forget how often this happens, but usually in April you have your local elections. That's your mayor, that's your county board members, that's your school board members, that's your township board members, and your park district board members. My apologies. Those elections happen on the local level in April. Usually, I think that's when you vote for like judges in your state and shit like that. Basically, there are always elections going on in the United States of America. Fucking always. And to just take it one step further, what a primary is, if for those who don't know what a primary is an election like Texas just held their primary. right? The primary is to determine who the Democratic nominee is going to be in November and who the Republican nominee is going to be in November. That's why you hold a primary. So there are a bunch of Democrats trying to get this seat and a bunch of Republicans trying to get this seat. Let's just say it's a Senate seat in Indiana, right? There you have a primary. You have a bunch of Democrats go at it, and when you vote, you pick one of them, and then they're going to be the nominee. And the same thing on the Republican Party. So that's what we're going through right now, are the primaries. We are currently picking who we're going to pick, or who's going to be on the ballot to choose from in November. So Texas said when they go to the ballot in November, the Democrat on the ticket for the Senate seat there is going to be James Telerico. Versus it's either going to be Cornyn or Paxton. They're going to go to a runoff because they were essentially, nobody got the requisite number of votes, so they're going to go to a runoff. But that's what we're doing right now. We're picking the candidates that we're going to vote for in November. So we have elections early in the year, and then we have the whole campaign all summer long and into the fall, and then we have the election at the end of the year. And then I think next April we're going to have a local election here, and then we get a little bit of a reprieve that fall, nothing, and then the next year we go right back into primaries for everything in the early part of the year, and then we have the presidential election and all the House and Senate seats in the fall. It's constant.